Hello, my loves, and welcome to Create Your Life. My name is Simone, and I am your host. And today I would love to talk to you guys about how to be a good leader. Now, I never understood why this happened with me when I was younger, but always I was put into positions of leadership. When I was very young, when I was still at school, I did a lot of singing, and I would always be like in little groups, asked to look after the little ones, to lead the groups, to organize things. I was a school captain, that sort of thing in my younger years, and I never really understood why this happened because I felt very shy and I felt very introverted, and I felt very much like I wasn't the loud person. I didn't have as much confidence as I have now, but I would still be put into these leadership positions, and I never understood it. I was like, why are these people picking me for these things? Like, they don't even know me. Like, how is this happening? But the energy that I put out, the way that I hold myself, the way that I handle things, that was what people were seeing in me that I didn't see in myself. I didn't see it. I had no idea. I was just always like, why am I the leader? And it was really interesting as well because I wasn't one of the popular kids at school. I was really quiet. I never felt like I was one of the cool kids. I never felt like I was a ringleader or a group leader. I never felt like that's what I was. But that was always the positions I was put in. I was always put in positions to lead. And I started teaching singing when I was 17 from home. And I don't know whether that played a role in it or not. I think that maybe there was just some sort of internal strength that I had that was what people were picking up on. But now that I'm a lot older, well, I mean, a little bit older, guys, I'm a little bit older. But now that I'm older and I've been able to have a look at my life and myself, and I have that self-awareness now, I understand what it is and what people were seeing in me that makes me a good leader. So I wanted to talk to you guys about my 3 biggest tips to being a good leader. So tip 1 is to lead by example. Tip 2 is to know how to explain something in multiple ways. And tip 3 is to always come from openness, kindness, and compassion, trying to understand the other person. So step 1 is lead by example. Now, I think this is an easy one, but a lot of people can go a little bit of astray with this. But for me, in integrity, to be a good leader, it means leading by example. So for example, and this is a true example, I remember hearing someone talking to one of my friends about investing in property. Now, this person had literally never bought a property in their entire life, and they were talking to this other person, my friend, about how to invest in property. And I found that such an interesting interaction because this person was a leader. They would go out and, they actually had a podcast as well, and they would go out and talk to people about how to do things and all of that sort of stuff. And I was listening to this conversation and I was like, you're not leading by example. Like, you're talking about something that you've never done, that you don't understand, that you've literally never bought a house, and you're telling her, or any property at all, and you're telling this person what they should do with their property. And I found that to be really interesting to observe because it had never occurred to me to talk about something or to advise someone on something that I literally don't know anything about. So I found that to be quite an interesting concept. And there is the concept of fake it till you make it a lot these days. And I think that you can embody something, but I don't necessarily think that you should be going and talking about something that you don't know about, if that makes sense. I think that you can embody a feeling, you can embody an energy, you can embody a way of being, but going and talking about something you literally don't know about, like this example with the investment, that to me isn't leading by example. And I think that when you want to lead a group of people or staff members, coming from a place of leading by example is something people can feel, and they will feel that trust with what you're saying and your energy. And when you're leading by example, that means that you've done this thing before. You know how this thing works because you're leading by example. So you have that confidence on the inside that people will just feel and know that what you're saying is true. And it doesn't mean you need to know everything. It just means when you're talking about something and when you're leading someone, talk about things that you actually know about. Talk about things that you can actually lead in, and I think that that's super important when you want to be in leadership. And I think that if you don't know about something, that's totally fine. You know, have staff for that reason. You look at different businesses, and a lot of the times, the best businesses are because they employ people who know more than them about certain things. It's not your wheelhouse to know everything. You don't have to know everything. But to be a good leader, lead by example. Lead by knowing your values, lead by knowing what you do and don't know, have the self-awareness to know your strengths, and by even just doing that, you're opening up the door for your staff to do the same thing and to tell you when they don't know something, because if you're there and you're trying to tell them everything and you're not owning the fact that you don't necessarily know about that sort of thing, you're not able to leverage off what they do know as well, which is another little thing when it comes to leading as well, is if you're trying to lead a team and you don't necessarily know about that thing, leverage off your team and allow them to know that you don't know all the answers, because then they're going to come back to you with solutions you might not have even thought about. I feel like this could turn into a long video. Sorry, guys. But lead by example. It's super, super important. Know your values. Know what you want, know what you're leading, know what you're talking about. And if you don't know, own that. That's totally fine. Like, it's totally okay to lead people and not know all the answers, because it shows that you're human, and it shows a level of integrity that people can feel. And when you are leading by example, you're coming from a place of confidence. You're coming from a place of alignment. You're coming from a place of connection, and people can feel all of that. So lead by example is my first tip. My second piece of advice when you're leading is to know how to say the same thing 4 different ways. This is a huge teaching tip, because some people will learn by doing, some people will learn by hearing, some people will learn by reading. So understanding that when you're trying to lead something, you might have to know how to explain the same thing 4 different ways is so important. So why I'm bringing this up is because understanding that everybody is different. They're starting off in different places. They have different ways of learning. They have different ways of taking in information. And if you are just thinking that people should be able to understand what you're saying and take that in, you're going to get very frustrated if people don't take it in the way that you've said it. And you're going to potentially not be able to create harmonious relationships with the people you're trying to lead if you're coming from a place of expecting them to know exactly what you're saying the one way you're saying it. Whereas if you can explain what you're talking about in multiple ways, if someone can't take it in the first time you tell them, you can adjust what you're saying and the way that you're talking to them and get them to understand the way that's best for them. You know what I mean? You're coming from a place of serving them. And if you want to create an outcome for that person, if you're trying to, whether that outcome is in a staff member capacity, so you're trying to come up with an outcome of what you want, and that person doesn't understand the language that you're using or the way that you're teaching them to do that thing to get that outcome, making that a them problem and getting rid of them and hiring someone else is probably not the way to do it, because not everyone is going to know everything in the language you use and the way that you teach it. Whereas if you can come from a place of serving them and come from a place of going, okay, how am I best going to be able to share this with them? What is the way that's going to work for them? How can I best lead them in this? How can I best help them to get this desired outcome? The exact same thing can be said for if you're working with clients as well, or customers. They might be asking a certain question, and if you only know the one way to answer that question and you can't change the wording to their way, you're going to lose customers and clients and that sort of thing. You want to be coming from a place of being able to understand the other person, being able to kind of go, okay, cool, they're not taking this in this way. What way can I say this so that they can take this in? Come from that place of serving the other person to get the desired outcome that you are both holding, Be open to the fact that people are different. They're not you. They don't have your experience, come from that place of trying to understand what will work for them. Come from that place of trying to help them, understand that the same words are not necessarily going to work for everyone. Or for example, if you can give someone a video instead of a written PDF, that's going to have a much greater effect of landing. So even understanding the ways that you're sharing information with your staff, with your customers, however you're trying to lead and whoever you're trying to lead, knowing that they're different to you and knowing that you may need to take a different approach is a sign of a great leader. Because if you're trying to explain something and they're not getting it and you think that's a them problem, you're going to run into more problems. Whereas if you can learn to work with people and serve the people that you're working with or who are working for you or your clients, you're going to find that you can create a lot of harmony and a lot of growth and a lot of expansion and just a lot of understanding by just coming from that place of knowing that you just want to serve that person. You just want to help that person get that outcome, whether it is a staff member or whether it is a client. Coming from that place of wanting to help people get that outcome, that's the place that a good leader is going to come from. Now, this really perfectly ties in with my third piece of advice to being a good leader, which is coming from a place of compassion and kindness. And this is super important as well, because it is coming from that place of understanding if someone doesn't get something. We all know those leaders who have one way to do something and they completely crack it if you don't do it that way, and they make it your problem and you're just like, but I'm just asking a question, I don't know how to do this, whatever it is, I don't know. You know what I mean? And so coming from a place of kindness and compassion as a leader and trying to understand the people you're leading is going to again set you apart as an amazing leader. Now, there is one caveat that I would say with this is that if you are talking about this in a staff sense, you do need to have other things in place, because sometimes the staff might not communicate with you that they don't understand what you've said. So you need to make sure that you are helping them in the way of just checking in and being like, hey, do you understand how this works? Or do you understand what I was talking about there? Create an open forum for whoever you're trying to lead, whether that's staff or clients or whoever you're trying to lead, create that open forum for them so that they can ask you questions. Create that open, kind, compassionate space. Listen when they talk, understand or try and understand where they're coming from and who they are, and adjust yourself that way. Don't fly off the handle if something's done wrong, because it might have been done wrong because they didn't understand what you were saying, So by getting really clear and just coming from that place of kindness, compassion, and understanding, which again, it really ties into the second one, but just wanting to help the people that you're working with or for, or the people that you're leading, and knowing that we do all have different experiences, and coming from that place of just learning. Just when you deal with people, come from a place of learning, come from a place of kindness and compassion and trying to understand that other person. Come from that place of alignment in yourself to go, okay, cool. Where is this person at? How can I best serve? Is such a powerful thing for a leader. And I feel like there's a lot that I've said here, and it might feel airy-fairy and it might feel really easy, but in the heat of the moments of life, it's hard. Some of this stuff is hard. If you miss a deadline in your business because someone didn't tell you that they didn't understand something, your first go-to might be anger. That you might be frustrated. You might want to get angry and take it out on them, So coming from that place of kindness and compassion and understanding is actually can be an adjustment, coming from that place of understanding. It can be something that takes time and practice, and that's okay. That's totally fine. and just keep working on it. Keep trying to develop that understanding of other people. Keep developing that self-awareness. Keep developing that awareness of others, and know that even though these 3 tips that I've given you, they do sound, airy fairy, they're not that practical. It's not like, it's not like to be a good leader, break everything into 25 steps. It's not like I've said that. What I've given you here is concepts that are going to help you to become a better leader, to help you become a better, to just become from a better place, and to become from a better place of leadership. And so that is my advice today to you guys, is just to continue to learn and continue to grow and continue to have self-awareness and continue to try to come from a place of compassion, kindness, understanding, and wanting to work with people and understand people and help people. Come from that place of trying to serve people with your staff, with your customers. Come from that place of trying to serve and come from that place of kindness and compassion, and you'll just turn around and have this innate confidence and this warmth and light and this ease that people will be drawn to, because they can feel that. They can feel all of that. And so I feel like embodying what I've talked about today, all of these concepts and all of these things, if you can embody that, you're going to become a phenomenal leader. Anyway, guys, I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. I would love to hear any feedback, any tips you guys have for being a great leader. I would love to hear all about it. So you can connect with me via email. You can connect with me on social media. Leave a comment. I would love to hear from you guys.